Well, so I guess it's a good time to start. A very good morning, everyone. Welcome to the fourth episode of The Future is Now with the title Restoring the Future. So I have with me four speakers who will be sharing with us about the problem that we are facing at the moment and the way that we can restore all those problems. So I will start with our first speaker, Dr. Tanjala Tiantanyaki. She's an associate professor in nuclear medicine, and she got the Thai Board of Nuclear Medicine in 2004 and fellow of ASEAN Nuclear Medicine Board in 2017. She's currently president in quality development of Department of Radiology, Faculty of Medicine, Siriraj Hospital, Mahidol University in Bangkok, Thailand. And she's also the National Hybrid Imaging Ambassador to Thailand for European Society for Hybrid Molecular and Translation Imaging and board member of Brain Imaging Council, Society of Nuclear Medicine Molecular Imaging. Dr. Tanjala, well, nice having you here.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Okay, so I will move to our second speaker. Our second speaker is Dr. Chayanon Sawatdeenarunat. Dr. Chayanon is presently the lecturer of the Asian Development College for Community Economy and Technology, or additives, at Chiang Mai Rajabhat University, CMRU. He earned a doctorate in molecular bioscience and bioengineering from the University of Hawaii at Mano. He has over a decade of expertise conducting research in biofuel technologies. His research currently focuses on developing an anaerobic biorefinery of lignocellulosic biomass by integrating anaerobic digestion and thermochemical processes to simultaneously produce methane and solid biofuel. In addition, as an environmental engineer, he is also interested in community-based PM 2.5 management to help mitigating the air pollution in northern Thailand. And you'll be hearing more actually about this today. So welcome, Dr. Chayanon.
Good morning. Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone.
Okay, so I will move to our third panelist, Dr. Weeraya Karnpanich. She's a lecturer at the Institute of Nutrition, Mahidol University, Thailand. And her research interests and experience involve risk assessment of food additives and contaminants, development of analytical methods, and food safety control system. In 2019, she received the Bolo International Agricultural Science and Technology Fellowship Program from the United States Department of Agriculture for a 3-month training on cumulative risk assessment of pesticides at Purdue University, the US. And Weeraya is an executive committee of Thai Society of Toxicology and also a member of Thai Young Scientist Academy. Welcome, Dr. Weeraya.
Thank you, Dr. Karnpanich, for a nice introduction, and good morning, everyone.
Okay, and finally, our fourth panelist, Ms. Natechanok. Or you also can call her Maprang. So Maprang is actually an experienced researcher in the chemical engineering field who runs also an innovative driven chemical company called BMP Chemicals. And she's also actually now a PhD student at Georgia Tech University. In the past, she has also undergone an executive leadership and business analytics program at Stanford University and got her Master of Science in Chemical Engineering, the University of Illinois, the US. Okay, welcome, Kun Maprang.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the good introduction.
Okay, so today, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be talking about the way to restore our future. So it seems to be like a very, very big topic. Before going to that, well, actually, I would like to explicitly thank our sponsors. So we have UNESCO Jakarta. So you will see the logo here on most of our background. And also we have another very important sponsor, National Science Museum Thailand, or NSM. And also you see that we have quite a number of our members from Thai Young Scientist Academy. So, well, apart from being a moderator of this session, I am also a co-chair of the Thai Young Scientist Academy. I'm Karnpanich Silva, and I will be moderating the session today. So let's actually start moving to the way that we are thinking of restoring our future. So I would like to start with the problems that we have at the moment. So today, the panel will be about the environmental issues and also the associated health problems that would come from all those environmental issues. So actually, when we talk about environmental issues, there are quite a lot of things that affect the world population all over the world. So, well, I would like to start my question with Dr. Weeraya. That, well, when we talk about environmental issues that affecting the world population, what comes to your mind at first?
Yes, for my opinion, actually, as I think everyone else perspective and opinions too, that climate change is one of the biggest global challenges to our sustainable development, actually. So higher temperature, extreme weather, and increasing greenhouse gas emission can affect not only on the environment and human health, but it is also disrupt the global and our countries' economies. So yeah, I think climate change is one of the biggest global challenge this day.
Well, actually, this climate change also will affect us a lot, and we need to adapt to it, right? And I think, well, you are like an expert in the field of food. So in terms of food, how this climate change really affect the consumption of the food or the production of the food?
It is climate change directly affect the food security and disrupt the food system. And because why climate change disrupt our food system? Because it decreases the agricultural productivity and it also affect on the food quality. So for example, climate change is also intensify the natural disaster such as floods, wildfire, and this disaster is not only reduce the land for crops and livestock production, but it's also cause the contamination of pathogen and toxic substance into our food.
Okay, I see. So, well, actually, it's affecting a lot. So it reduces the productivity, and also, well, it also increased the toxicity, well, of many things, right?
It is, and actually, people says not people actually at the global level. They say if the best way to solve the climate change issue is to implement the policies to cut the greenhouse gas emissions. But that solution is quite challenging both international and national levels. So in terms of as food scientists, I think for the producer like agricultural sector, if they can implement the smart agricultural technology, yeah, to produce food more sustainably, or even encourage people to adopt to eat healthier and sustainable diet. It could be another solution to our climate change problem.
Yeah, I see. So, well, when we talk about climate change, so as you mentioned, we have been talking a lot about the mitigation of it, so how to cut the CO2 emission or something like that. But today, actually, we will be focusing more on the adaptation part. So how would our food production or our food consumption can adapt to this climate change? And I'll be coming back to you later on this topic. So, well, I would like to then move to Dr. Chayanon and just closing up a little more onto the environmental issues in Thailand. So do you think, well, what do you think that will worth being discussed here with us under this theme, Restoring the Future?
Well, I think today I'm gonna talk about I think a famous topic within the last couple of years, which is the PM 2.5. I think actually PM 2.5 might attack Thailand for long, especially in the northern part of Thailand. I'm gonna tell you later that why I say something like this. But PM 2.5, think about that. This pollutant have about the sizing. The first thing is the sizing. There's like 3 times smaller than the red blood cells. So that's why it can affect a lot of our health. However, the PM 2.5 situation has been attract the government agency for only the last 5 years, and then only the last couple of years become a national agenda that the government try to push a lot of the time, money, budget, everything to address the PM 2.5. But as you see, this year is end of the season of 2.5 already, but the next year, at the same time, you're gonna face the 2.5 again. And then I think numerous preventive and corrective methods have been implemented. However, this situation still need a long way to go before it can be sustainably addressed. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Chayanon. And well, certainly this PM 2.5 is a very, very important topic, well, that we will be also discussing today. So we have climate change, well, especially the climate adaptation, and also PM 2.5. Well, actually, when we talk about environmental issues, apart from these two, another problem that is catching quite a lot of attention of Thai people at the moment is the explosion in Samut Prakan, which happened earlier this month. So I think it was in Ming Tea factory in Samut Prakan, right? And I think it was broadcasted maybe for the whole day during the accident. And that really caught the attention of the people. And I think this is also something that is worth discussing here, right? Because we have with us the 2 important panelists here, Mak Prang, who is a chemical engineer, who will know quite a lot about the chemistry of the pollutants that being emitted. And also we have Dr. Tanjala, who is a doctor. So she will be discussing about the health effects. So I would like to start with this one, the explosion in Samut Prakan. So Mak Prang, can you actually elaborate a little more about the timeline of this accident? So how did that happen, and how did the accident proceed, and how did it become this serious? So can you please elaborate a little more for us?
Yeah, sure. So let me talk a little bit about the Ming Tea factory in Thailand. Ming Tea factory in Thailand is a top chemical manufacturer in Thailand who produce the plastic foam and plastic pellet in Thailand, a very top 5, I think. And Ming Tea chemical got a huge explosion and fire destroyed their warehouse. 5 to 6 warehouse in Ming Tea factories got destroyed by fire. And at that time is the moment that the explosion is on July 5th, 2021 at 3 a.m. in the morning. And then after that, around 10 a.m., 7 hours after the explosion happened, they have an official announcement that required for the people to evacuate from that area. So everybody who lives in the radius of 5 kilometers have to move from that area. And I think it's a little bit too late for asking people to evacuate from that area, but yeah, better not to do anything. And then that explosion, it totally damaged and extensive damage the surrounding allow the area of the explosions. And it's identified that Surrounding by 1 kilometers around the factory, the house and community got destroyed. The house gases break, and there are so many like vibration during the daytime and nighttime after the explosion. So let me talk a little bit about the cause of this effect, because it's not yet clearly identified what the cause of this explosion happened. But let me talk a little bit for the 5 triangle. That's everyone who learned about the science technology might know this already. Let's talk about the 5 triangle. We have like triangle like this, and then this side is oxygen, which composed in our atmosphere for like 21% already, and another side is the fuel. So this factory is contains of about 60% of styrene. So it's considered as a huge number of the fuels that kept in the warehouse. And the last triangle is the heat. So that means if someone is igniting some fire during the nighttime or during the nighttime around 3 a.m., it's easily to get exported in the warehouse. Absolutely. So let's talk about the cause of the effect. And then this fire, this explosion is happened for about 19 hours after it's happened from 3 a.m. and then until the very next day. This vapor of styrene, the vapor of styrene is got exposed, and so many people got exposed to the chemicals as is distributed all over the area. And I think the contaminants will be in that environment for like 1 or 2 months. Yeah.
Yeah, so, well, it's actually very serious, right? I mean, the explosion itself, and it happened like in the nighttime, as you said. Well, actually, one of my friends said his house is near the factory. I think it's like, 4 or 5 kilometers from the factory. And he said that well, during the time that they asked the people to evacuate, he was not asked to do so, because like they say that, well, it might not really affect him, but finally at last he needed to evacuate. So I think, well, actually that's like 4 or 5 kilometers from the factory, and the people need to evacuate. So it's actually a very large scale accident. So I think you talked a little bit about the triangle, right? So we have oxygen, we have fuel, and we have heat. And regarding the fuel, you were talking about the styrene. So apart from styrene, so what were the chemicals that were included there? So that I will just ask Tanjala later that, well, how would that chemicals affect the health? So I would like to know that, well, what are the chemicals that were contained inside the factory? So apart from styrene, are there any other serious chemicals?
Yeah, so I will like talk about the chemicals name in these charts, and then you can listen to it like the melody in the morning. So the chemicals in factory is like about 10 of the 10 main chemical is kept in that house, in warehouse. So the first one is benzoyl peroxide, which is peroxide with dangerous actually. And second one is calcium carbonate, dicalcium peroxide, hydrochloric acid, which is a strong acid, absolutely. Phosphoric acid, pentane, sodium hydroxide, styrene monomer, high calcium phosphate, zinc stearate, and yeah, that's all the chemicals that's contained in that warehouse. So about like 10 chemicals, that's this. But really top 2 chemicals that they have in warehouse is reported as styrene and pentane. So we have pentane for about 60 to 70 tons, and styrene monomer for 1,600 tons that's kept in Mingdi warehouse. So that's a huge number of the styrene. The styrene normally is considered as a highly toxic chemicals, as well as a highly flammable chemicals that should be kept safely in the warehouse, and should have like the policy, like the safety engineer who take care of that regularly in the month or in the year.
So, well, that's a lot. Well, unfortunately, I'm not very good at chemistry, so I could catch only styrene and pentane. But I think those are the 2 important chemical pollutants that were emitted from the accident, right?
Yeah.
So now I would like to move toward Tanjala to ask a little bit about this health effects that could come from these two important chemical pollutants, styrene and pentane. So how could these two chemical pollutants affect the health?
Yeah, when people in the area near the explosion, they can get this chemical through the into their body through ingestion, you drink or you eat, and inhalation or direct contact to your skin or your eye. So the effect can be either acute or chronic or long-term effect. I will talk about the acute effect first. If you have the skin and eye contact with the chemical like styrene, you can have the irritation, which can be mild if you get the small amount, but it can be also the serious effect if you direct expose them with a high amount instantly. So you need to consider it can cause irritation, you can have rash, you can have itching, you can have something like itching around your eyes, you can have eyes swollen, or you can have a tear drop continuously. So if that happens, you should remove all these chemical, like you use the water or saline, like salts mixed in water to clean that. And another thing is if you ingest it, you can cause the toxic effect to your digestive tract from your mouth, from your esophagus, like the tube to connect your mouth to the stomach. You can have stomach ache, you can have vomiting, you can have nausea, or you can have diarrhea from that toxic. And if you inhale it, you can get the damage to your lung and your airway. You can have like nasal itching, sneezing, and you can have bronchitis, the inflammation to your airway, and you can have like asthma, and you will prone to more infection easier. And if you absorb these chemical substance into the high level continuously, that can absorb into your blood, and then it will go to another part of the body. It can reach your brain. You can be like drowsy, dizziness, and you can have unconscious. And if you get the very high level, you can die.
Well, that's actually quite scary. Well, if we receive quite large amount of all these pollutants, then that could really affect our life, right?
Yeah, because there are factors. It depends on the type of the chemical, as Marpang say, and we are focusing on the styrene, and also the time of the exposure. So if you know there is toxic thing there, you should avoid. So the evacuation is the best way to do at the acute effect. And I mean, yes. So that are the acute effect. And about the chronic effect or long-term effect, those irritation to eyes and body can be like persistent for years if you continue as to expose to that chemical substance. So you need to protect your body as well, like wearing glasses or wearing the dress that can cover your body, especially those who have underlying disease, like who have allergy or who have like lung disease. And also the chronic effect, if you have exposure to the chemical for long term, you can have like dementia, you can have memory loss, you can have attention deficit. And the most scary thing is this toxic can transform your cells into abnormal cells. So it is believed that it can cause your cancer in later time.
Well, that's actually very alarming, I would say. So it's quite a large area that was affected by the accident. So even the accident itself happened just for several hours. but it takes like days to actually distinguish the fire, and the effect to the people's health will continue for months or years. So I would like to go back to Maprang actually to ask you that. So what would be the good way of the site, the good ways for the site remediation? So how can we, actually, from the chemical point of view, how can we tackle with this problem? How can we get rid of all the chemical pollutants from the area, or how can we just like try to like contain the chemical pollutants? So are there any ways to deal with this?
Yeah, so let me go back a little bit for the styling reaction that after styling going through the heating process, it can have two main components that happen after the heating process. The first one is styling itself after the heating process, like the vapor, and the second one is the benzene. So these two chemicals considered is highly toxic into the environment. If it contaminates into water resource and into the air, it causes a huge and long-term effect to the people in that area of course. So actually, Thailand have to have this urgent policy that actually like control the effect of this long-term pollutant. So the first of things that I would recommend the policy to happen is to have like the air space over the area for like a month to control the diffusions of the vapor of styrene and benzene. And the second one that you can do is in the water resource, if it's possible, try to make a filter from the activated carbon that can absorb some of the contaminants in the water, so people will not expose to this toxic that much in the long term. Because it's inevitable that people can get contact to this toxic, but let's lessen the level that people can expose to those chemicals. And the other thing that I would like to mention is the foam that we use to distinguish fire. So this foam is kind of like can be contaminated into, because it captures all the chemical when it's distinguishing, right? And then it can go through the water resource after the distinguishing process is end. So this foam is mainly the surfactant component. So let me like go into the detail a little bit for this foam mechanism to distinguish the fire, because it's very important to the environment after all the explosion is end. You should know about what the contaminant should be in the environment. So that contaminant from the reaction itself is the main important, but the second important is the foam that is used, because it can contaminate into the environment. So I would like to mention about this. Foam itself is distinguished by being like the surfactant. If surfactant in terms of this, if you go to the bottom and then is like the surfactant that can cover on the surface of the chemicals. So this foam films a little bit on the layer of the chemicals, and this blocks the chemicals to expose to the oxygen. So that's why it can distinguish the fire, because the chemical will not need the oxygen after all. So this foam, after is distinguished all the explosion of the fire in the incident, it will come to the water, absolutely, and into the soil and water after that. So we should take an immediate action to make a filter on the water resource and make a spray all over the environment after that. You should care about a long-term policy of maybe prevent and protect the people in that area, like more urgent and more like preventive than this.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think like this activated carbon will help absorb. I mean, like if you use the filtering, then that would help quite a lot. Well, I see your hand, Dr. Chayanon. So do you have anything to add or to ask?
Yeah, I just want to ask a bit. I'm wondering that because this is a point source of the contaminant, how far this kind of pollution can be migrated to to the other area, like by the contaminant in the river, in water body. I know the air is already gone, because we have I think some government agency, they already monitor and then says okay, good. But I'm wondering that like this is rainy season, you know, the rainwater can leach the contaminant or the pollutant to the river, and then how stable of this kind of the chemical, and can you like predict a little bit how far it can go before it can be naturally address the problem? Thank you.
So I think it will not be naturally get rid off from the environment for sure. So we have to, the only thing that we can do if we want to naturally get rid of it is to make it dilute as long as the time goes. But I think the better way is to lessen the impact that it might have on our environment, to the sea life, to the life of people that might use the water from that resources. So I think we should like implement some action plan to reduce that contaminant. So I think the dilution will help a little bit, but we should do something that help more to lessen the impact of that contaminant. So let's say, I think it will cause the contaminant in the water reside for like 6 months or 1 year for sure. It will not go anywhere, but flow with the water, a little bit dilute, but will still there.
Okay, I see. So it seems that so there are like two different ways to deal with this. We'll just use something like filter or activated carbon to try to capture the pollutants, or well, like even though you do that, there will be some amount of pollutant that is emitted from the site, right? And the best way to deal with that is to have it diluted. So for the dilution of
so
the
actually
pollutants.
it's good that it's raining season because it can dilute more of the water, but yeah, but it can disperse very fast into the environment. We have to take care of that.
I see. Well, then, Dr. Tanjala, so I would like to come back to you actually, because now we see that, well, even though we'll make a lot of efforts to try to capture or try to filter the water, there will be, well, some level of substance being emitted to the environment. So it will be like in the area that themselves, or also it can go to other areas also. So for us for anyone who live around the area, so what would be your recommendation to them to prevent their health from being affected from these chemical pollutants?
Yes, I would like to connect to what Mapang talked earlier about the government need the solid policy to do that. First thing that the people awareness, because once they think the fire is gone, the smoke is gone, maybe it's safe, but it's not. It still have some side effect from remain in the environment. So we need to inform the people in that area, maybe in like 5 kilometers within the area of exposure, about what can happen and how these toxic substance can enter their body. They need to aware about this. So if they know how the chemical substance can get into their body, so they will learn about how to protect themselves from that route of entering. For example, if we know that it can cause the skin irritation, like I said before, we can wear glasses and we can protect our body with using the clothes to protect it, and we spend at as least time as possible outside, and when we come back into the house, we should remove those clothes and wash body to as soon as possible we come back. And also to prevent ourselves from the inhalation of the toxic gas, we should wear masks to prevent the inhalation, and we avoid to exert ourselves, because when we exercise, we can breathe in more air and we get more toxic substance into our body. And for the ingestion or drinking, I think that like Maprang said, that because these chemical substance can dilute in the water for months or years. So I think that people should know that they cannot use that water to drink or cooking or even taking a shower, because it will cause the skin irritation as well. And I think that another thing is the monitoring plan, because we know that now we know that the level in the air is lower and lower. But what about the water? We need to sampling the water to check time to time to see the level if it is in the safe level enough. And also one thing that Mapang mentioned about the sea life or the animal in the area in the water. So we need to aware that those fish in the water can ingest the chemical substance, and they can contain this toxic substance in their body. So if we eat the fish from there, we can get the chemical toxic as well. So we need to avoid to eat seafood from that area for the particular time until we can make sure that the toxic will remove to the safe level. And another thing is the people need to know about the symptom that they need to go to see the doctor, because that tell them it is serious effect. If they continue to live like that, they will maybe have the serious health condition or die. So if the symptom turns severe, like you have the tighten when you breathe, you have your heart beat faster, very fast. We call in the medical term as tachycardia, about more than 90 to 100 beats per minute. You need to go to see the doctor. Or you have the vomiting a lot. You need to check. You don't try to remove the substance from yourself, like you try to vomit, because you can get both injury from influx and reflux. So you need to drink a lot of water and go to check at the hospital. And sometimes if we suspect the serious effect, we need to go to blood check, check your urine and do some chest x-ray to check if there is some serious health condition happen to you. So I think that the awareness is very important.
Well, okay, thank you very much. Before going to you, Weeraya, so I would like to recap a little bit what Tanjala have said. So I think the two important points that you mentioned, the first one, and I think it's very important, is to raise the awareness of the people. So it's not only awareness of the situation itself, but also awareness of the effects from those situations, and also awareness of the symptoms. So like what would be the symptoms of themselves? And another important part is actually the monitoring, which will link to our next topic. And it's not only monitoring of the area, but also monitoring of yourself, monitoring of your own health, right? So I would like to move then to your question, Weeraya. So I think you have your hand raised.
Yes, thank you. Actually, not the question, but I agree with Tanjala that this is a good point, that we should monitor not only yourself, the symptom, the area, but also the food and drinking water or water used in that area, because actually benzene or some other chemicals can accumulate it in our foods, especially in this case, maybe in our seafood. I'm not sure that in Samut Prakan there is a lot of fishery activity or aquaculture. It's my affect, and we need some authority or food safety authority who can collect the sample and monitor the level of this toxic substance in the food and drinking water. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So from consumption point of view, also we need to monitor what we drink and what we eat. So as I mentioned earlier, so this actually directly link to our next topic. We were talking about two important problems, right? One at national level and another one at the global level. So I'm talking about the problem at the national level, which was the one mentioned by Dr. Chayanon. So it was about PM 2.5. Well, actually, this problem has caught our attention lately because it's becoming more and more serious in Bangkok. But Dr. Chayanon is actually living in Chiang Mai, and this PM 2.5 has been a serious problem in Chiang Mai for over a decade, right? So please elaborate a little more about this problem, Dr. Chayanon.
Thank you very much, Dr. Karnpanich. I don't know how should I feel say the PM 2.5 problem caused the attention of the government because it's happened in Bangkok. However, in Chiang Mai, we face it like I think more than a decade. You know, as I remember, 10 or 15 years ago, we also smell like somebody burned something, and then we also like see the reddish fog. You know, so we cannot see it. It's a reddish, everything is reddish. We just say, we just blame at that time. We just blame our neighbor. So our neighbor just burned something. It's so bad. You know, we didn't even know that's a PM 2.5. Because you know, at that time the detector, you know, it's like a ghost. You know it, but if you cannot monitor and measure it into be a number, you're not going to concern is a problem. Right now, the problem of the PM 2.5 in Chiang Mai is because the people don't concern it as a problem. Just say, oh, okay, it's just like smell. It's just because you cannot see it, right? Yeah. To go back to the PM 2.5 situation in Chiang Mai. As I told you, 10 years ago, 23 years ago, because technology of the sensor, the monitoring system, and we don't have any AQI, you know, monitor website, and then we can access. We didn't even have internet at that time, so we just let it go. You know, we just stay with it. Oh, okay, it's gonna be. Actually, is this a cycle? The PM 2.5 is a cycle, both in Bangkok and in Chiang Mai. In Chiang Mai, the PM 2.5 is gonna be happen. You know, first you're gonna see it in the around mid-winter, mid of the December. It's gonna be carry over until peak at around March and April, and the rain is gonna be a hero helping, you know, to naturally address that problem on around May. And you know, I think somebody is like some researcher, they follow this situation and say, oh, this is a cycle, and the Bangkok is gonna face the situation of the PM 2.5 before Chiang Mai. So we have the indicator. If we see the Bangkok, you know, become yellow or something a little bit red, you know, not a super red. People say, oh, they're gonna wear a mask, they're gonna, you know, buy the mask, and then we know that 2 months later, Chiang Mai is gonna have the problem for sure. Okay. Actually, another thing is Chiang Mai is in the geographical location is in the bottom of the pan. So whatever, I mean the city of Chiang Mai. Okay, whatever you burn from wherever, it's gonna be a travel, a migrate, deliver to the Chiang Mai city. So the Chiang Mai city is gonna face a lot of very high PM 2.5 concentration. In Bangkok, the concentration of PM 2.5 might be around 200 microgram per cubic meter, right? 200, 300, I think, and you know, it's become a big issue. Chiang Mai, we face the situations of 1,000. We are number one, you know, the world champion. Oh my God! So, but you know, sometimes it's tough because of the budget, and then Bangkok is the, you know, capital of Thailand. So, but however, the many government agency, many university in the Chiang Mai, we are trying to address this kind of problem in the many different way. You know, a lot of the PM 2.5 detector, ranging from the detector of the PCD, we call the weather station. It's called 10 million baht, to the portable one that you can buy online. It's like a 600 baht, right? So we have a lot of that one, and also we have a lot of the mass that deliver to the people. However, now the real situation is we don't have the enough awareness and cooperation from the say look, sometimes some local government and also there's some people. So we still need this kind of the awareness to address the problem sustainably. Yeah, that's the situation in Chiang Mai.
Well, actually, it seems even more serious than what I thought, because like, well, in Bangkok, when it reaches like 100, then people start saying, oh wow, yeah. I mean, like we do wear masks and this and that, but well, it can go up to 1,000 there in Chiang Mai, and that's very, very serious.
I can tell you the story, the 1,000, because the detector can detect only 1,000. That's the detector limitation.
So you mean that it might be even higher? Ooh, that's too bad. Okay, so well, I heard that, well, actually, CMRU, well, Chiang Mai Rajabhat University, have been putting a lot of efforts in addressing this problem, and you use innovation to do so, right? And it's linked to what I mentioned earlier. It's about the monitoring of the situation. So I think you invented what called addidust, right? So well, from addiset, and then you got it addidust, right?
Yes.
So can you talk a little more about that? That what addidust is and how that would help the community and the people.
All right. Thank you. As I told you earlier, that a lot of the university in Chiang Mai try to address the problem or mitigate at least in a different way. Some universities try to put the really technology to it, but Chiang Mai Rajabhat University, we are the community-based university, so we think in a different way. So we try to decide actually addidust is the PM 2.5 management, consists of the monitoring system, consists of the we also have the training course to raise an awareness, and we also have the training course on how to do the safety room, safety room that the people can get in at the low concentration of PM 2.5. Also the affordable air filtration, air filter, that we also have the training course on that. We focus mainly on the community, especially at this phase. We focus on the school, because our idea at that time that if we give it to the school, we educate the student. One student, they can act like another presenter. At least we hopefully that they're gonna educate their parents first, and hopefully the parents and then the student can educate the community member. So it's become a snowball effect. And then also if we give into the school, we can raise the awareness for the young people. We cannot raise awareness from the 60, 70 years old. It's very tough, right? As we know, but we want to educate them from the beginning of the education. So we have the around 40 addidust monitoring system, and then I think more than 70-80% in the rural area, in the school at the rural area. Okay, so let me share the screen of the addidust. So you're gonna okay. One thing when we design the addidust is we would like to design it to be user friendly, because of the people or the member of the community in the rural area. Sometimes they are low educated or even the uneducated, and or sometimes they are a huge tribe people. And then if you if you decide something is really elegant, really high tech, I think forget it. They're not gonna touch it. Okay, so we are trying so before we decide this one, we went to the community and asked them that, okay, so we're gonna do this one. What do you want? What is your concern? What is your feedback? What do you want to see in this one? You know, and every comment, every concern from the community, from the ranging from the school boy, the student, to the old people in the community. So we decide like this. So you can see this one. This is the name of the station, okay? And when you click it, the map gonna move to the location of that. This one is from the comment of the school student. They said, oh, Ajahn, I would like to have something that interactive that you know, it's like they want to play. It's like a game, right? You know, so they say, oh, this is my school. This is my school. Oh, something like that. Have some story. And then also, this is the station. They're gonna, you know, in the order is from the highest concentration of the PM 2.5 to the lowest, you know. So this one is from the one community member. They say, oh, Ajahn, why don't you rank like this? So we can blame the other when we have the meeting. So, oh, our PM 2.5 is lower than you, or something like that. That's a part of fun, you know. And then also this one, you see, I click this one. This one gonna change. We have the big number, you know. Why? Guess. This one is some old elder people. They said, oh, Ajahn, sometimes I forget my eyeglasses. I have the foresight problem. So if you have a really small number, I cannot see it. So we put the big one, you know. And then also you see somebody, you know, they cannot read it. Especially for the Hill tribe or uneducated people, they cannot read this one. So how can they know that, right? So even the number or something. So we just put it as a color code. Okay, so this is gonna change. Let's say this one. I think the other one. Okay, because now all is green, but in the when the dust season is coming, so this one gonna turn red, turn yellow, something like this. Okay, and then based on this one, we have the graph to check, you know, seven days later. This is average one. Actually, this one is a real time. So the number is going to change every 5 minutes. So one site per year we have 140,000 of the data point of the east side. So and then we can collect it and download it and to become used as some schools, some students. They said, oh, Ajahn, I would like to get this data because I would like to learn for the big data. They can use this one to do a site or something like that. Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's the idea. So as I told you that we should concern every single comment from the community. We're not gonna decide because we want it, but we should decide to be a user friendly that they want it, and they guarantee that they're gonna open it to check it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Chayanon. So I learned quite a lot from this talk. I mean, it's very, I think you pointed out two very important things. The first one is that, well, it's actually easier to educate the young people. And I really like the word that you use, the snowball effect from the children. I mean, like you educate the children, and then they will educate their parents or their grandparents. Right? And
actually we sorry.
Okay, go ahead, please.
No, actually this one we learned from the student. So one of the students came to me and I said, I just tell my daddy, my mommy to play this game. They say this one as a game, and not a PM 2.5 monitoring system. They say as a game. Oh, then the mama and papa like it a lot, and then when they go to some villages to have the meeting, they show this one, something like that. So I think this is worth to invest with the young people, something like that.
Agree. And then so that's very important point. And the second point, I really like the way you engage the community. So when you get their opinions, well, every single opinion is important, and you try to reflect that to your system, and it become very, very user friendly, right? And I see your hand, Dr. Tanjala. So do you have anything to add or to ask?
Yes, I am very impressed about this application, and I want to ask it because PM 2.5 is just the term that we call everything, every particle that very small size like that. But I know that you can measure the level of PM 2.5, and can you like detect what is inside? I mean, what are the substances?
Yes, we can detect it, but it needs a really expensive, like a GCMS or something like this to detect it. I'm sure that what they're gonna have is the heavy metal. Yeah, so this it's gonna have a lot of things, but in at this level, as the mission of the university, we just define them, you know, overall as PM 2.5. But it's a good point to classify the what's inside the PM 2.5.
Yeah, because when I try to learn about the health related problem related to PM 2.5, one factor is what is inside, the ratio of the toxic substance. So if you have like very high level of heavy metal, it will cause like more lethal effect. So I think that, I hope that the government will grant you more budget to classify this, so we will get more information. So we can protect ourselves with this knowledge, right?
Yeah, totally
Hopefully.
agree. I mean, hopefully, you really
hopefully, yeah.
Okay, well, actually, I have a follow-up question to Dr. Tanjala, because we talk quite a lot about the dust. So it's not only the problem in Chiang Mai, but nowadays it's also a problem of Bangkok and also some other provinces. So well, apart from that heavy metal part, that we also need to identify more. So what are inside the things that have been detected. So well, just the dust themselves. So well, as a lay people, so how can we protect ourselves from this dust? PM 2.5.
So we need to learn how the dust gets into ourselves. So I think that the dust mainly get into ourselves by inhalation, like we breathe in the dust. So if we want to protect ourselves from the dust, that's why I went out from the state a little, because I want to prepare this. So actually, we need to prevent the dust to enter our body. So we need to protect ourselves with the mask. But actually, we need the special type of mask like N95. Yes. So the number is the percent that they can prevent the small particulate to enter our body. The higher the percent, the higher the number, like N99 can prevent us from this toxic dust about 99%. So not N95, they can prevent us from this dust about 95%. So not only N95, there are some other type like from China, they call KN95. From Euro, they call FFP2, FFP1, the number related to the prevention of the particulate to enter our airway. So you can just don't look for just N95. But the problem is this kind of mask is expensive. Like I remember that it at least about almost 40 baht per piece, and it is recommended that you change it daily or at the maximum no longer than use for 3 days. So it will cost a lot of money if you have to use it every day. So what about the normal hygienic mask? they can prevent the PM 2.5 only 60 to 70% if I search for that. So this is not enough. Why? Because this kind of mask, it can protect, but you can have some space that the air and the dust can enter the body. The better way that N95 can protect you, because it's like the dome, so it can protect, prevent more air and more dust to enter your nose. So how can we improve its efficacy to prevent the mask? Some researchers show that if we use the tissue paper and we fold it into half, Dr. Non can correct me if I say anything wrong, and you insert it inside like this. So you can have like a more filter layer to protect the dust. And this way they claim that it can increase the efficacy to prevent the PM 2.5 about from just 70% to 98%, so which is very high. And another way, you can use like wear the double mask, so you can have a more layer of filter. And this way we can prevent the PM 2.5 about almost 90%. So it increased. But this is the lab result. We are in the real life, you know, we still have space. So from the lab, they check only on the direct prevention. So it will be lesser than that level, but it's still higher than just one layer of the mask. So this is to prevent it to enter you through airway. And another thing is maybe I think that the most important thing is to avoid the exposure. So if you have awareness, you know the level that what kind of level is like a green, yellow, or red. If it turn like orange or red, you should stay indoors. Like sometime Bangkok closed the school for the short duration when the PM 2.5 rising to the very high level. So that is the best way to prevent yourself to expose to the PM 2.5. But when you stay indoors, sometimes they say that the purifier can help a little, but it needs the special type of purifier. And purifier is even for me, I think it's expensive. So not everyone can have the purifier. So you need to know the level and prevent yourself. I think that is the best way to live practically.
Okay, so now we see how we can use the mask efficiently, and also try our best to avoid being in the serious situation. So I see your hand, Dr. Chayanon.
No, that's correct, all correct. So I just wanna add a bit, you know, the one thing that if you wear the mask and then use the tissue paper for up, it's gonna remove your lipstick. You know, somebody is gonna remove your lipstick and then your cosmetic. So that's a joke, but somebody so N95 is like a dome, so it's not gonna, you know, touch your lipstick. And another thing that the people in the rural area is that they used to you know, the pakhaoma, the male bathing clothes, something like that for the Thai. Yeah, the clothes, they just cut it, you know, they cut it and then they make it to be like a double layer, then try to do it in case of they cannot access to any kind of mask. But I think now, because of a pandemic situation, so they have a plenty of masks already, so now it's good. Just be careful about the lipstick and then the cosmetic.
Yeah, so we have a lot of ladies here, so be careful of your lipsticks when you use the mask. Okay,
that is not a problem because your lip is under the mask anyway, so nobody can see that your lipstick is gone.
Okay, so well, I think so we've talked quite a lot about this PM 2.5, and we will be coming back to it again during the Q&A session. But we have one important issue left. It is about the climate change. I see that a lot of people and a lot of panel discussion have been focusing on the way to mitigate the climate change. For example, how can we reduce the carbon dioxide emission or something like that, like using renewable energy instead of fossil fuel, something like that. So all these things are actually very important and need to be discussed. But actually, there are some other things also that we need to think about. And this is something that Dr. Weeraya has touched a bit at the beginning, that we also need to adapt ourselves to the climate change. For example, we may need to change our consumption habit or our production of food. So do you have anything to share with us, Dr. Weeraya, on this? I think like you are doing quite a lot on food. So in the food industry, so how can we actually really change to adapt with the climate change situation?
Okay, thank you. So I think most of you have heard about insects as our future protein source. So if I ask you that, do you believe that if we eat bugs, we can save the planet? And would you like to eat it?
Not
maybe
so sure.
not. Yeah, but okay, then I try to convince you then. So actually they said consumption of insect is become a new trend since 2013 because the Food and Agriculture Organization, or FAO, published a document entitled Edible Insects: Future Perspective of Food and Nutrition Security. So it can eating the insect can fit well with the Sustainable Development Goal number 2, zero hunger, number 12, responsible consumption and production, and also number 13, the climate change. And yeah, for eating insect, why eating insect can be the food security solution? Because you know that the animal meat actually contribute only 15% of our total energy in human diet, but we need up to 80% of agricultural land used to produce the livestock feed. So it only 15% contribute to total energy we need, but we use huge amounts of land for it. And you know, like worldwide, about 30% of the cereal production is fed to animals. So this day it is scientifically confirmed that livestock is important contributor to climate change. You might heard about the cow fast and emit the carbon dioxide and a lot of methane and nitrous oxide. So actually they said the animal sector significantly contribute to the greenhouse gas emission up to 15%, not only from the industry or human activity, but livestock itself contributes a lot. So then if we move or adapt the insect consumption behavior, we can get some environmental advantages, such as insect farming use less land and water to produce. And for example, the land farm area required to produce 1 kilogram of protein from beef is about 12 for greater than the 1 kilogram of protein from insect farming. So you can see the difference. And also secondly, the greenhouse gas emission of insect farming is much lower, because for beef production, if you want to produce 1 kilogram of beef, it can cause the greenhouse gas emission about in terms of carbon dioxide is about 15 kilograms of carbon dioxide to produce 1 kilogram beef. But for insect protein, if you need 1 kilogram of insect protein, the carbon dioxide emission is even more than 100-fold lower. So it's huge difference. And also insects have high feed conversion efficiency. What that mean by feed conversion efficiency? It is the animal capacity to convert feed mass into their body mass. For example, you have to feed a cow 10 kilogram of cereal or soy meal to produce 1 kilogram beef. But for the cricket, you know the cricket, the insect, only 2 kilogram feed it will be need to produce 1 kilogram of cricket. So and lastly, in terms of environmental advantages, insect can transform the low value organic byproducts into the high quality food or feed. Or in other words, insect farming helped reducing environmental contamination while adding value to organic waste. Is this more convincing? No.
So in terms of environmental impacts, I see that actually insect is much better than, for example, pork or beef. Like, it requires less land, it produces less carbon dioxide. But like if you see the insect on your plate, then I'm not so sure whether I'm going to eat it or not. Well, I see your hand, Brown. So do you have anything to ask or add?
Oh yeah, exactly. So for me, it's kind of, I'm really into a non-meat based food right now. Yeah, I really love the idea of the insect a lot, but I cannot find it in United States right now. I'm sure about that. But let's embrace about the idea of plant-based meat that I found in United States. To compare with that is like between the insect-based and plant-based meat, what do you think is better, like to save energy in terms of the climate change, and as well as is it possible that you transform an insect product into something that really look like the meat or have like the fluffy feeling that's very better for the tasting system? That might be like the better challenge to increase the insect consumption in the world.
Thank you. Yeah, plant-based diet is another another new trend of for healthier diet, but also actually to plant-based is rely on the land, use of a lot of land. For example, for soy, for corn, for some other cereal products, they still require a lot of land, isn't it? But for insect have some a little bit more advantage and potential in terms of environment, because for insect that you don't need a lot of land to farm the insect. This is one better point. But also I'm sure that these days, like compared to insect, plant-based diet looks more appetite, isn't it?
Yes, I really love the plant-based. I come to the idea like once a week or twice a week to have a plant-based meatball in IKEA right now. I really love that. And there is like some brand in Thailand right now is called Meat Silo.
I
really love the idea of this plant-based and insect-based. Well, maybe in the future we can commercialize the insect-based diet. Yeah.
In the USA, actually they're trying to. Yeah, there is some celebrity chef in the US, in New York. They try to he tried to incorporate insect on the plate, but the way he tried is that he just used the whole insect.
Oh my God, no!
Not the powder. Yeah, he put the cricket into brownie, or he sprinkle your salad with the black ants. For me I still feel less appetite, but plant-based is another trend, and it's also good for environment, also good for health, And I think it gonna be increased popularity among the consumer.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that both are actually very good. And in terms of area, maybe plant-based will use a little more area to produce the food itself. So and then when you say that, well, then they turn it into powder before they use. So if they can just like turn that powder to something that well looks very similar to meat, then well visually we will feel more appetite to eat the insect. So I see a lot of hands up here, so I will go to Tanjala first. Any question?
Thank you. I think that plant-based food is also more popular these days. But when we go back to the starting point of this talk, the climate change that affect the food supply, I think that for plant-based maybe take a lot of resource compared to insect-based. But I agree that if it comes like an insect fly, I cannot eat. But if it transform into the powder and it come like a cake, I can make my mind to eat it.
Agree. I totally agree. Then Ajahn Chayanon, please.
No, I'm as an insect lover. Eat many kind of insect. Just close your eye and put it in and chew it. I just want to share that when I went to the rural area, eating the insect is kind of one of the traditional snack. I can say snack, yeah, traditional snack that they're gonna serve you. You know, some insect I cannot even imagine what it is, but again, I think one thing that we need to take into the consideration if you wanna apply this one, some insect might because it might contain like some pesticide. Herbicide in their body, but if you rest cultivate in the farm, it should be okay. It's farm based, should be okay. But I mean if like in the rural area thing that's from the nature that might be one problem. But I think nationally in Thailand, we eat insect for some people quite a long time. So to imply the insect based food to Thailand might be easier than the globally. But do you think what is still the burden or the barrier that still need to be considered if you wanna imply or expand the insect based food in Thailand?
This is a good point, because actually, like back to a long history, we eat insect, especially in the northern Thailand and northeastern Thailand, right? But why most of Thai people now, like in the central area or in the southern, is not part of our normal diet? I think maybe I use your idea. I think we have to teach them since they young. Maybe ask them to incorporate the insect as a part of their regular diet since they were young. Maybe we have to create the school lunch program which use the insect how can I say, as a part of food. Maybe we create the insect recipe available into the internet and encourage young people to eat more, and then young people might teach their parents and their older generation to eat more insect. Is that maybe makes sense?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, and insect in the Chiang Mai, I mean, very expensive when you compare with one just very expensive. It's not cheap anymore.
Yeah, because they target for the tourists, right? They become the exotic food to try, but not the like regular food.
But I think that they use the natural insect, right? Not the farming insect. So maybe it's
natural
hard to find. It's hard to find because we kill all of them, so they cannot feed more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And also there are some issue about as Dr. Chayanon said about the pesticides, and maybe some allergy, some toxic contaminant. Maybe Dr. Tanjala can add up a little bit about this issue of safe insect consumption.
Yeah, go ahead, please, Dr. Tanjala. So about allergy. So like, are there any type of like allergies or like toxics that you can get from consuming insect?
Yeah, I think that in terms of allergy, what causes people allergy called allergen. But I think that because insect is not very a common food globally, so we don't have much data about the allergy caused by insect. But it is possible because most of the allergy caused from protein, and I think that insect have some protein on their body in their shell, so it can also cause the allergy effect. And the allergy effect can be mild, like you can have like tingling over the mouth, or you feel like you're itching on the skin, or you have rash. But it can turn severe, like you can have vomiting, you can have your blood pressure drop, or even fainting. So I think that to prevent, if you know that you are allergic to this thing, you just avoid. But the problem is you don't know unless you try. So you have to notice that you have to try once. You need to try, so you will learn that like if you don't try seafood, how can you know that you have allergy to seafood? So that is the concept. Or but maybe there is some risk that people can have allergy for food, like they have family history, like the parent have allergy to insect. It is very likely that the children can have allergy from insect as well. And we can have the test, like the skin test that contain the substance that can cause allergy from any substance in the world. The most common substance that can cause people allergy. I think that if insect will be our future food, we need to put protein from insect into that test, and we need to check before if we can eat insect or not. And another thing is like other health condition, if you are aware about the serious symptom from the allergy, you can know when you need to go to see the doctor. And there is some medication that can suppress the allergy effect, like antihistamine or immune treatment. So yeah, I agree with Dr. that maybe we can know by learning, and we can try insect once. But one thing is you should not make the very little children to eat insect, because there is an evidence that if you expose something in very early light that is not your common food, it will increase the likelihood to allergy to that substance. So maybe a schooler may be fine, but not the baby, I think.
Yeah. So I think like we will need to try. So personally, I would like to try insect in the form of powder, not in the form of insect themselves.
Actually, I used to try the worm, which we call the express car.
Yeah, the express train, right?
Express train.
Yeah. Well, that's actually quite popular exotic food.
It's a bamboo worm. Yeah.
Yes, it's a bamboo worm. Yeah, you're right. So Dr. Weeraya, well, I think there is another important trend that I feel that we need to also touch upon a little bit. So apart from this insect as food, we also have the trend of food waste. Like for example, like to reduce the food waste, to consume everything that we can consume. Like, for example, we have been eating only the rambutan themselves, but I heard from you earlier during the preparation that we can also eat the seed of the rambutan, right?
Yes.
So I think that's the trend. So can you elaborate a little more on that?
Yes, actually, the reduction of the food waste is another way to solve the sustainable development problem too. So they said if you can reduce food waste, you can become a food hero. You eat insect, you can save the planet, and if you reduce the waste, you can become the hero. So because why? Because actually we lost a lot of food every day, not only in the agricultural production, but in the retail and consumer level. We lost a lot of food, and our food waste can create a lot of problem actually. So it could be good if we can make the how can I say, agricultural byproduct like durian seed, or recently I heard someone eat durian peel, but then they have to have a lot of process to extract the ingredient from the durian peel. And even someone, as you mentioned, eat the rambutan seed. Honestly, when I was young, I have a thought. I thought about it previously, because when I was young, I feel like the rambutan seed looks like almond seed, and I feel like maybe it edible or not. And I tried once, and it's very bitter, but it's very dangerous actually, because the raw seed of various kind of food contain toxic substance like alkaloid, saponin, which can have adverse effect. So you have to make sure and choose wisely that from reliable information that which agricultural byproduct, even durian seeds or rambutan seeds, can be eaten. If you look at the internet these days, actually, is interestingly, someone share the durian seeds recipe, or even rambutan seeds recipe on the internet, and they say like you just slide the seed and put in the air fryer, and then the durian seeds taste like almond, and the rambutan seeds baked rambutan seeds taste like the cashew nut. but as I told you that we have to be careful, because some of the fruit seed is toxic too. And actually, in fact, various fruit seeds contain high amount of carbohydrate, and also some seeds is good source of protein. Yeah. But for me, as household level, maybe it's not a good idea to eat fruit seeds that we never eat before, because we're not really sure about the dose of the toxic chemical in that fruit seeds. So at industrial level or commercial production, actually, they try to extract or isolate the nutrient like carbohydrate or fiber or protein from the agricultural byproduct. So that and then they make it as a food additive, or make it as the functional food ingredient. So for the industrial level or commercial production, it might be safe, but maybe for the household level of eating byproduct, maybe not recommended actually.
Okay, I see. So, well, it's a good trend, but we also need to think quite a lot about the food safety. So it would be better, I think, like this would be the arena for the researcher to go and research a little bit about the safety of the consumption of all these food waste before we what I can say, popularize this consumption of food waste, like all these seeds. Well, actually, we are running out of time. So I will get one very interesting question from the floor. Actually, it's so, well, actually, they started with the compliment that the Adidas tool is so cool. And the involvement of the community through school kids is a very efficient strategy to connect science to the public. So the question there is that, so could we also raise the awareness in health and environmental issues further using the citizen science approach with this Adidas? So I think the question will be to Ajahn Chayanon.
Yeah, actually, you should by you add add on the some of the whatever detail or information you would like to raise their awareness into the additives. For the PM 2.5, something like that, like the effect, like as the doctor said that we can have the content in the PM 2.5 blah 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 or the effect. You can do that, but another thing is we need to avoid the jargon, technical educational jargon. You need to put it like a game or easy to understand and communicatable at the level. Yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, well, I agree with that totally, and I think that the way that you engage the student by hearing their opinions and then try to reflect that to your tools, make it much more interactive, and like it becomes something like a game to them, right? So Tanjala, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, it is something I have in mind too, because I'm not sure that do you have any content like suggestion? If it turn red, what should we do next? If it turn yellow, what should we do? Like something.
Yeah, we already added at the end of the website that if the red, you should be inside the building, should not expose to the atmosphere or something like that. We just put it in, and then yeah, that's a good question, because the why we put it in, because some community members say, oh, Ajahn, I cannot remember what is the yellow is. I just know that the red is I cannot drive a car through or something like that. So in this case, we just put it in, and then at least they cannot remember, just graze through it, and then, oh, okay, what should I do when it's red, when it's yellow, when it's green, or something like this.
So that's a very good idea of like extension. Thank you very much. And actually we see quite a number of comments on, like, for example, like well, this food insects are really interesting, and also like would love that you can share like some like the recipes or something like that, like putting the ants on the salad or something like that would be good. And also, well, a number of comments also about the food base, so we can also explore it further. But before closing the session, so I would like to hear just like from all of you, maybe just 1 to 2 minutes long, so not longer than that, some recommendations or suggestions to future generation that they would like to join our team to restore the future, right? So I think like this is a team to restore the future, the team to address environmental issues and also associated health problems. So if there are future generation who are eager to join this team, so what can they do at the moment, or what should they study in order to be able to grow up to be someone like you all? So I would start with Maprang first.
Well, I didn't expect that I will be the third person, but yeah. So I classify myself as a in between a younger generation and older generation. So I never see myself as a full adult yet, because there's a lot of things that I'm still learning to get into that adult, full versions of adult. So I'm trying my best to be the better versions of me. So my suggestion for the younger generation is do whatever you want in the life, because I really consider something that's very important during my 26 years in this planet. It's called multidisciplinary, and that multidisciplinary is a little bit outdated right now. Right now, I'm focusing more in interdisciplinary. That means you can interact and have like a function that can connect with the other discipline out of your scope of work. So me as a chemical engineering, right now I'm into the computer programming, I'm into the business, right now I'm into the logistic thing. And then I feel like those kind of connection between each disciplinary is much more important. So whatever you like in your life, just take the chance to learn more about it, and then never quit before the clock starts 12.
Thank you very much. Well, that's a very good recommendation. Then what about you, Dr. Weeraya?
Okay, for me as a food scientist, so I just leave some message here. Like, it's everyone business responsibility, everyone business that can help with the food security problem. So, and we can start at the individual level. So by firstly, if you can adopt more sustainable diet, eating more plant-based food or alternative protein sources, not specifically to insect, but some other alternative protein source, legumes or seaweed, mushroom, or even in the near future, maybe we have the culture meat. So yeah, it might help. And the second thing is if you can help reduce the household waste, don't go to eat the durian seed for lunch, okay? But if you just gradually change personal behavior, such as if you can buy food only what you eat, or you can eat leftover more or store food wisely, or even share food with some other people. I think these two impactful actions we can do easily to save our planet. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Weeraya. Then what about you, Dr. Chayanon?
My take-home message for the audience is I think for the PM 2.5 problem, we cannot address in our generation for sure. It's a your generation. That's why we jump into the school and then try to teach you guys. So as the student now, you can do it by at least educated or tell or remind your parent to aware of the situation of the PM 2.5 which directly affect to your health. The second thing, rather than your parent, is go for the community as the community services to tell them they're gonna believe you more than me. They're not gonna believe me because I am no one in the community, but you guys are the community member. Go ahead for it. But in the future, if you would like to go for this kind of the atmospheric science, you can go for the environmental engineering or environmental science or whatever related to the atmospheric science, and please help reducing the PM 2.5 problem is your generation.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Chayanon. And finally, our health professional, Dr. Tanjala.
Yeah, what I would like to give the key message is you should live healthy lifestyle. I think that most of people know how to live healthily, but the problem is they cannot do that. We know that if we drive car, we use a lot of air conditioner, we will cause the climate problem. But we want ourselves to be comfortable. So maybe if we want to do that, we can exercise more, riding bicycle, walking more, use less air conditioner. And most of the disease right now is what people do it to yourself. You are making yourself sick, so you know how to live healthily. Like you know how you should not eat junk food. You should not smoking. You should not eat something or do something. You should use your brain more to live. So the doctor can spend time to treat the disease not caused by yourself. I think that is the way, and you can teach your healthy lifestyle to your friend, to your parent, or your community.
Well, that's a very useful suggestion to the children. So live healthily. That's very, very important. So I think we are coming to the end of our 4th episode of The Future is Now, Restoring Our Future. So we learned a lot about the environmental issues and associated health problems in our world and also in Thailand, and also some specific issues that we had. And also we learned how our 4 impressive panelists are using their expertise to deal with all these problems. And they are also inviting you to be one of the members to restore our future. So before ending our session, I would like to again thank our sponsor, UNESCO Jakarta, and also National Science Museum Thailand. And this panel is delivered to you by Thai Young Scientist Academy, Thaisa. Thank you very much and enjoy your day.
Thank you very much.
very much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for
Have a
having
good
me.
Thank
day.
you. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Thank you.